We are live, Kiana. All right.
Hello, everyone.
Just checking the YouTube stream real quick. I think it takes a minute. There's a ever so slight of a delay. I just want to make sure that it's working. Yes, it is. Okay. All right. I'm going to close that out and make sure all set up. Yay! Welcome.
We're doing this.
Yes!
Finally. So excited.
Taking one of our, million talks that we have that are very similar to what we'll be doing today and have decided to bring it to this live format. Kiana, thank you so much for every way you have been a champion, a supporter, a loving presence for me on this journey. So it feels so fitting that we get to do this Tipa Talk live together today.
Absolutely.
And so how are you arriving today, dear friend?
I'm so excited. I got my Halloween orange on. I won't lie. I did for a minute there, almost showed up in a costume. And then I'm like, okay, maybe not.
I would have loved that. So I'm learning something new about you. So you are quite the fan of Halloween.
I am. It's just this, you get to be a kid, you get to go out there and be silly and dress up however you want. And I don't know, I always had this thing about like dressing up as badass women. Like I did Frida Kahlo 1 year and then a few others. I don't know, I was a peacock before that. It was just like a very random thing. I thought the badass women was a better theme. So kept that up for a few years. But I think it's just nice to remember we don't have to take life so seriously all the time, especially when it's so serious all the time. So, it's a nice holiday.
Maybe you're inspiring me to put on a little face makeup tonight when I take my kids trick-or-treating. I'm so not the fun mom that wears the costume.
I don't know if that defines you a fun mom or not. I definitely think you're absolutely a fun mom, but just try things out. I mean, you're all about stepping out of your comfort zone. So,
well, thank you for joining me on this Halloween, this Friday. I guess want to officially welcome folks to a Tipa Talk. This is just a really aligned way that after I launched my podcast, I thought it would be a fun way to end the week. Ending the week in reflection, so Reflection Friday. And this Tipa Talk is an opportunity to talk about what is stirring within people as they are considering this wisdom of Tipa. As you know, Kiana, for over a decade, this has been something that I have been reflecting on and internalizing and bringing forth into my own life. And so it has been such a joy to finally share with others and to be hearing the impact that it's having on them. I think before I've talked about this creative project being like a baby that I was giving birth to, and just how I now have an 8 and 10-year-old, like marveling at the life that they take on, how their life takes shape. And as they interact with the world, I feel like that's what's happening with the podcast, and people from so many different vantage points and walks of life are sharing what they're taking from it. And it has brought me so much joy. And so as someone who took years, literally, to bring the podcast to life, these Tipa Talks are just like the complete opposite of what it felt like for me to prepare for the podcast. And it's just a light, unplanned conversation. I think that this wisdom was always meant to be shared and contemplated in community. And so doing these Tipa Talks is feeling good. I did my first one last week, and riding the wave of that, decided to do it again. So thank you for being willing to join me. And would you be willing to tell us?
Thank you for having me. I honestly, I mean, it was one of those funny things where you're like, would you? Because I was like, yes. When? Like, just telling you, I was like, we're asking, like, you know the answer. Like, get to hang out with you for half an hour and chat about the things we always talk about. Yeah, I mean, that's an absolute yes. And to watch you, honestly, just flourish through this process of what has been a very long, I mean, the actual labor does not last this long, so going through the birth of this particular child has been quite the journey.
I joke that it was like a very long gestational period. Baby,
No,
it's
to just
cooked.
see it out in the world is, and you know, I was saying to you before, like, you know, I thought I need a story, and we've talked about some of these stories, and you're an incredible storyteller. So even though I may know the broad brush strokes, like still I'm like, wow, yeah, I forgot that happened. Or wait, that piece, I didn't know that happened. And it's this wonderful thing where it's not just for the world that doesn't know you, but even for the people that do know you, it's a gift, right? Because it's a reminder of how incredible you are, but also these challenges that you've overcome, and a reminder for us to really find the value in those moments that are the most challenging, and find the gift in those moments that are so challenging, as tragic. I mean, we talk about the first episode, right? Like it is a horrific event, and yet you have a way of finding these threads of hope and threads of community and togetherness and rebuilding through all of that. And you know, talking about the rest of them, we'll get into it, but yeah, it is genuinely, with no exaggeration, a gift to the world. So thank you.
Thank you, Kiana. I'm noticing that I was like, my cheeks were starting to like quiver a little bit. I'm like trying to like take in all of what what you are like, all the reflection and affirmation. So thank you. No, thank you. I receive it. I would love for you. Would you take a moment to tell us a little bit more about who you are and how in the world do we know each other?
Absolutely. Yeah. So who am I? It's always one of those funny questions, right? Like, I am a citizen of the world. I am an obsessed techie, a lover of Halloween. We're gonna put that in the thing, right?
Own
And
it. Own it.
yeah, I know. And for a long time I resisted saying I'm a coach, because I have so much respect for people like you who do this full-time, professionally licensed, and this is your entire life until, well, now podcast host. But in this post big company chapter, let's call it, trying to not name names, but you know, I have recently come to realize, like, what I do is very much part of who I am, and owning that is saying that I coach founders, and I work with early stage companies on how to flourish and how to be awesome, and scale, and you know, get out of their own way and not screw the thing up, you know. And I love it so much. I do it a little too often for free, and I also do it not for free, which is, you know, why I feel like, okay, I can call myself a coach, I'm getting paid for this thing, so it's okay. But yeah, I've been an entrepreneur. I've been around this world of startups for such a long time that it feels such a part of my identity. And when we were at business school, I realized that you know, there's something so incredible about connecting with other people on other things that are not being in tech, right? Because and I think that's where our friendship started. You come from a very different world into that experience, and you know, I remember many conversations that we had about wanting to live a life of impact, and wanting to define a career that is impactful, and what does that look like. Like, I remember one conversation we had around these microloan movements, and you know, there's such passion and deep expertise around, you know, why or why not this is a good idea, and like all these things. So for me, you know, it started from business school, but in a way it feels like I've known you my whole life. And you know, it doesn't feel like it's been 10, 12, whatever years it's been. It feels, you know, on so many levels much deeper than that. So it's
13 years. Just had to 13
yeah.
years.
Oh, okay. Has it been? Oh God. Wow. Time just flies, doesn't it?
It is a beautiful thing. I mean, I really have those people that they know like the depths of your soul. I feel like there's nowhere I can't go with you. And
Yeah.
so, yes, that is like the safety. You feel like home, right? Like so a feeling that I've, you know, it's like a lifelong friendship. So I cherish that so much. And I gotta say, Kiana, I love that you are like I'm honoring where you are in your process of sort of playing with owning this identity of coach. And I'm with you. Even though I am technically a professional coach, I sometimes don't fully identify with that term. And it was funny. I did career day at my kids' school, and I was like, how do I bottom line what a coach is, so that like 8-year-olds can understand. And what I boiled it down to was that coaches help people go after their goals and dreams and to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have always been that, which drawing a direct line to Tipa and the wisdom of Tipa, I'm remembering a moment was it my second year? I think it was 2013. I'm remembering being in one of our classrooms and I'm freaking out because I'm getting ready to deliver my low keynote called, Tipa Tipa, the wisdom of step by step. And I am like not feeling fully prepared. And I had another coach, Lauren, who did an amazing job preparing me, but you were the one that helped me embody like who and how I wanted to be to deliver this message that was such a vulnerable but authentic sort of expression of my heart and my soul. And that a coach knows how to hold spaces of like transformation and empowerment for people. And you did that for me. Like I still see where you were standing and the way that I was, I'm gonna cry. Like you helped me own the delivery of that in a way that was truly life-changing, because once you have an embodied memory of really like rooting into and owning your power. And for me, it was giving voice to this message that meant so much to me. And you helped me do that. So not only did you help me go after my golden dreams and believe myself, but you held that space that allowed for me to step into being this version of myself that would allow me to like bring gifts, talents, messages like into the world that I was feeling so called to do. So you've been my coach for a long time, Kiana. So whether you claim it or not. So 13 years later or 12 years later, you may be claiming it. But the truth is, I feel like so many of us are coaches. And even back to the career day example, I gave that example to the kids. Like, you're surrounded by coaches. If this is the definition, is it your dance teacher? Is it your sports coach? Is it your parents or an uncle? And we all have the ability to hold this like loving, empowering space for others, for them to.
And it's a necessary, that necessary piece of, building the life that you want, because, there's some of the founders I used to work with, they're like, oh, I don't need a coach, right? Like I used to call myself an advisor, and I still do at times. And because when you're an investor and advisor, it's okay. But if you're a coach, whoa. And I'd be like, well, what is this resistance? And we talk about resistance, right? Like there's this thing they're going through. And what I understood is that it's similar to therapy. It's like they see it as like, I'm not cut out for this, or I'm not good enough for this, and therefore I need someone to scaffold me and help me. And no, I cannot show signs of weakness. And I'm like, do you realize that the best athletes in the world not only have they have a team of coaches? It's just not like a single person telling them you go, right? Like it is an entire professional team of people whose job it is to make sure this person who's incredible at what they do does it well. So what does that say about you if you're not open to performing at an elite level when you think about coaching as that support to help you do that? You think about coaching as like, oh no, I'm broken and I don't need fixing. And I'm like, this is so there is a lot of, I think, different things associated with that word and what that means for you to have a coach and what a coach can do for you. And there are probably many coaches that are not so good at what they do. It's with any profession, but the ones that are amazing, like you, it just can be transformational, absolutely transformational off of a single session, right? And I think that in a way, the podcast is an extension of that transformation that you can bring into our lives. So, yeah, love it.
Well, with that, perhaps we transition into the podcast, or just that focusing on this wisdom of Tipa. So Kiana, what I originally, when I did this last week, we were unpacking the first episode. But I've decided going forward, so a big part of the Tipa revolution is that we honor people's pace. And like, if people need several weeks to marinate on one episode, like honor your pace. And so while I have released episodes 1 through 3, there's no expectation that we have to talk about them in order. So just wherever you are in the journey, you can draw from anything that has been like sparked in you or has been stirring in you with regard to any aspect of either the podcast or just the broader, just the wisdom of Tipa. And so I'd love to just hear when given wherever you are on this journey of pondering this wisdom or listening to the podcast, what has been resonating or stirring within you?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there, but I think the timing of us having this live now is quite poignant because, especially with the release of the particular last 2 episodes together, is this idea of having the courage to say that this is not my dream has been, for me personally, a running theme, right? And it is both a statement of courage and recognition around defending your dream, but also being able to take the step to say, there is a dream that is worth sacrificing a sense of security, a paycheck, a safety. And as I mean, the journey is sort of career-wise, but also personally, like I've moved around a lot. I used to live in Bay Area before graduation. After graduation, I've been there for 11 years. And there was a moment I remember that I looked at my life there. I'm 30 years old and, I'm in tech, I'm in Silicon Valley, that this is the thing. I've gone to Stanford and I'm checking all the boxes, but finding that I'm living that life that looks really good and sounds really good, but is not my dream, right? I'm not seeing my family because I'm working 16 to 18-hour days and not even doing it as a founder in the way that it's my thing. I'm working for someone else and I'm dispensable. And at any point, because there is so many incredible smart people in there, they can be like, you know what, thank you so much. We'll just replace you with someone else. So what am I really building? And what is it that I'm giving this much of my life to? I missed my cousin's graduation. I missed a few family gatherings because I was too busy and I wouldn't see friends. So I looked at that life. I'm like, this is not my dream, right? This is not the life I want to live. And I think when I was listening to the retelling as you were talking about it, that moment and then the actual move to London, there was quite a lag there, right? And there quite a bit happened. I wasn't originally going to move to London. I was going to move back home and start building some things in Iran, because that was the moment where things looked up and it seemed like the country will go a different direction. It seemed really exciting. And that felt like much closer to my dream. That is still my dream. Whether it's going to ever be possible or not, I don't know. But at some point I just realized like it is the dream life, but not the one I signed up for. And I think there's incredible privilege in that, to be able to, one, see it, to have the courage to declare it, and then to work through the change formula as you outlined it, to actually overcome the resistance and take the small steps to make that happen. So that really resonates. I think this idea that we commit to living our dream and have the privilege to do it, which is a very, very rare thing, I think.
It's so awesome because I was there for all those moments, right? The deciding to leave and move to the UK, and so just appreciating, like, connecting to those points in time. I think I had spent the night at your house right before you in San Francisco, right before you left for the UK.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, because this has actually been coming up a lot this week. Folks have been messaging me this idea of this not my dream. Given where you stand today, how are you thinking about what your dream is? Like, and we can talk about this. You don't feel like you're just on the spot. Like, I've been contemplating that too.
No.
So what comes up for you when I ask that?
It's funny because I've had some interesting challenges around building, at least on the career side, my dream career, I keep contemplating that question. And I think what keeps coming up for me is something you and I talked about when you were officially coaching me for a time, which is about sort of this ability to be in a position to draw from all the skills and experiences and gifts that have been bestowed on me to do work that is meaningful, that lights up the world. And it is so funny that that is a difficult thing to do, because that should be a default, right? We should all have the opportunity to do work that takes everything we have and turns it into something wonderful and gives it to the world, right? But the problem is we've made everything in a way so narrow, and job descriptions and job titles and the definitions of how things work, that you don't always get to do that. I see so many people in jobs that have the privilege and the ability to afford to walk away. They just sit there and they waste away kind of in the position you were, and not happy with where they are. And still they just are like, oh, but I don't want to do that. And in a way, like that's a part of my dream, which is I want to be able to do that myself and continue to commit to that, doing work that lights me up so that I can light up the world. But then also inspire other people to take that step, the people who can do it, because we have too many things in the world that require the talent and the commitment and the passion of people who are now in jobs that are maybe not their dream. And how wonderful would the world be if all those people could actually do what they love and showed up every day being lit up about the problems they're solving. I want to live in that world.
So do I. And I feel really present when you talk about acknowledging the privilege. Like I really, I struggle with the truth that, not everybody has, like the great inequities in the world, and it's not within everybody's, it's not feasible or within their capabilities or the conditions or their circumstances for them to just, walk away from the job that's no longer serving them. And so acknowledging that. But I think for me, so much about the Tipa revolution is oftentimes we are discounting the choices and options that we do have, or we're not seeing them. And it's like, how do we awaken even in the smallest of ways to like reclaim like the choices that we do have, either in like the internal narrative or sometimes the action that we can take, like quitting the job. And this question of dream, it's interesting. A couple people wrote me this week and they were like, I was listening to this and like, I don't really know what my dream is, or like, and I was like, oh, and I noticed my initial response was, when I'm saying this is not my dream, I guess what I want to offer is that we often, we hold our dream as like one big ideal thing, right? Like it's a place, a destination, or a thing to achieve. And what I want to offer, which is what I start to do in this journey, is that like your dream may not be that far away. Like what does it feel like when you're living your dream, right? You said lit up. You might feel, for me, I feel alive. I feel at peace. I feel nourished. I feel connected in the ways that matter to me with the people who matter to me. And at the heart of it, that you were day to day living your life in a way that is honoring that which you value the most. So is it growth? Is it contribution? Is it, service? Is it learning? And it's like, what happens? You can still have this like longer term goal. Like I want to build an organization or whatever it may be, and have this like widespread impact in Iran at home. But when we sort of delay our ability to live into the ways in which we are like honoring that which is most important to us right now, it's just we're creating less joy in the journey. Like we're never allowing ourselves to actually, if you can live into like every day, how am I honoring learning and connection and self-love, or whatever it is that's most important to you, that it's like your dream, you start to experience the feelings of your dream right now. And so even while you're working towards the thing, you're like, it feels rewarding and good because you're
Yeah,
like,
it's aligned.
it's
It's aligned,
aligned.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. And so I had a
Yeah.
friend this week who messaged me and she's like, I don't know, so I offered this. She's like, I'm not living my dream. And I've known her for a while. And I said, I don't know. It's, I see you and your actions every day as someone who is acting in alignment with values of courage and learning and honoring her cultural heritage, and when I reflected that back, she was like, oh, I guess like that is at the end of the day what I want my life to be about. And I find that we worry so much, and especially those of us who've gone on to like big institutions and invested a lot in our brains and also like have awareness about the incredible privilege that we've had access to and want to make the most of it, not squander that. It's like we have this really inflated expectation of like what enough needs to look like, but then it sort of undermines our ability to be the person that then goes on and has that sort of widespread impact we want to have. So I've been thinking a lot about this dream thing,
Yeah, look, I mean, I can go on for another half an hour just talking about like there's so many threads there, and we have so little time, but I think the core of it is, it isn't going to be fun every day. These commitments to this kind of journey, it's a roller coaster. I've had experience that you've experienced it. There are incredible moments and there are some challenging moments, but there is this sense of being true to who you are and what you want and the change you want to create in the world, and that alignment is nourishing in its own way, and it's impossible to define the kind of impact that you're having. And that's a lesson I keep having to relearn is I may have a conversation for 15 minutes with someone and then they go on, and this has happened. People have come back to me and say, remember back in 2016 you told me this, and I genuinely sometimes don't remember, but they remember so vividly, and I could not have foreseen that impact that they then went on off the back of the conversation and completely changed the direction of their life, right? And I think there is this sort of obsession with like the dream feeling like this big thing and the impact feeling like this big thing. But I think it is the tipa tipa. You just take the steps and the steps are aligned, and that's all you can do.
And I say like one aligned intentional step is more powerful than 1,000 misdirected ones, right? And so it's like this
100%.
invitation to really tune back into the potency of being like, and how powerful being fully present and clear on that which you most want to honor, and take those steps that are in alignment. Because I really believe it's the only way. And I think so many people that we know, it's like we just carry this weight of expectation around doing enough and being enough. And what becomes possible when we relax into the truth of our ability to like be and do enough right now in this moment, just by like acting in alignment, right? And being courageous and choosing the things that do feel most aligned for us, and trust that from that, what is meant to flow through us will.
100%.
But that trust piece is hard.
Daily practice. That's why they call it a practice, right? It's a daily practice and reminder. And you're a perfect example of why it's worth sort of committing to that path. And I think as you do more of these Tipa Talks, we're going to see more and more people who have taken that journey. And I think that, as an extension to the podcast, this allows people to actually find that courage in themselves to, find their Tipa.
Well, speaking of two pieces before we wrap up, I would love to hear how you're thinking about bringing the wisdom of Tipa into your life in the near term. That's one question. But the other one is that so much of what I also love about Tipa is that it is a universal wisdom. And I remember I was at my sister's graduation in May, and the keynote speaker was a Persian woman who was just graduating, from Iran, who was graduating from her one of the first people to graduate from her MBA from the Johns Hopkins Business School. And she shared this quote, and I was like, oh, in Farsi, and I was like, that is totally Tipa. Would you be willing just to share? And I shared it with you, and you're like, yes. So would you be willing to share that piece of wisdom from your culture?
Yeah,
it lines up so beautifully with Tipa.
Yeah, look, I think, as you said, this wisdom exists in every culture, and it's a funny thing. Before we even go to that, my grandmother used to say, and
Say
she
hi to
spoke
Mr. Whisker.
Turkish.
Sorry, real quick. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
hello.
He was like, okay. So sorry. Your grandmother. Please go back.
Yeah, she used to say, there's, and I always remember it as like gamas gamas, which is step by step in Turkish, and it's just like it's okay. It will take a bit of time, and I think that there's a longer poem. I think we should put it in the comments. Is about drop by drop you become the ocean, and I think that there is, and you shared the Khalil Gibran quote, which is related to that, right? Like, you fear becoming the ocean. You fear what that feels like to step into your dream, to actually take up the space that you can take up to shine and to be out there. For many people, that's not easy. For many women, that's not easy. But once you become part of that ocean, you have arrived, right? You're full aliveness, and that is a gift that I genuinely wish every person gets to experience. And that is my next step. Like, I really, for me, it's about owning that identity, and really taking more active steps towards guiding people on their journey, which has always been a difficult thing for me to say I do as part of my professional work. So I look forward to that.
Oof. Oh, Kiana, thank you for sharing the wisdom of your culture with us. I love it. And you're right, tying it into the Khalil Gibran poem and this idea of becoming an ocean. And Kiana, I just feel so much joy in imagining how the world will benefit from you, drop by drop, step by step, like stepping into what feels like this expansive state of being the ocean, and settling into whatever way you identify with the way the way you're doing your work, whether you say it's a coach or something else, but just owning it fully, unapologetically, wholly. And as someone who's you helped me, you said you didn't know how the things that you do impact other people. I'm telling you, like, I became a different person through that talk that you supported me fully stepping into. I wouldn't have what I have today had I not had the experience I had when I delivered that talk 12 years ago. And I still connect with that moment of what it felt like for you to support me in that moment. Like, I wouldn't have had that experience had you not been there to support me. So just, as they say, Maya Angelou says, our legacy is not one thing, it is everything. And if we trust that, if we show up fully, lovingly, presently in our gifts, we never know, like every moment of interaction is an opportunity to just have ripple effects beyond our wildest imagination, and all of that is our legacy. So thank you for letting me be part of me. Your legacy lives through me, and I hope I get to go on and
I love it.
benefit others. Yeah. So cheering you on in your tipas. Is there anything else that feels important to give voice to as we wrap up? I hope we can have, I want to have other conversations because there's so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think I would say two things. One is, very quickly, I think one is this idea that you presented, that curiosity and compassion as an antidote to self-resistance is so, so valuable, because that self-resistance is also self-doubt, and remembering that is a protection mechanism, that is not a bad thing. We just have to be curious and compassionate, and stay open to that. So that's my wish, that for everyone to stay curious, stay compassionate, and find your dream.
Oh. Thank you, Kiana. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. With that, we will bring this to a close. For folks who are tuning in, just if you have not checked out Tipa Revolution, the podcast, please join us on the journey. We recommend you start at episode 0. It is a narrative arc where each episode builds on the other. You can find us on the YouTube channel or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And we look forward to welcoming others on this journey. Kiana, thank you so much for your time. I love you
Thank you
dearly.
so much. Love you
And
too.
thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.